I gave an impact statement at the first penalty phase on behalf of my entire family. That statement was extremely filtered due to the rules of speaking to the jury. With that being said, the statement is more personal to me and my experience, and a little less filtered. I wanted to start out by talking about the last day I saw Travis. Towards the end of May of 2008, just a couple of weeks before Travis was killed, he came to visit me in my home in Southern California. He was so excited to let me read the intro to his book that he was writing titled Raising You. This was his attempt to inspire and help more people to become the best person they could be, no matter who they are or where they came from. The intro to the book detailed our childhood, what we overcame, how we would not change a single thing about it. Travis and I got in a deep conversation about our life, our crazy childhood, the horrible, unexpected deaths we endured, including both of our parents at a young age. We both agreed that no matter how miserable our lives were at times, our childhood is what made us who we are. Our childhood made us strong and able to conquer almost anything. Our childhood gave us no choice but to rise above our surroundings, change the cycle, and become successful. Travis made the best of the cards he was dealt and became a successful motivational speaker. He wanted to share with the world that you can do anything despite your surroundings. You can be anything you want to be. That was the sole purpose of his book. My brother shared the sad details of our childhood to help others. He exposed private details of our lives growing up to make a difference and motivate others in theirs. I am disgusted that Jodi used his words of encouragement, the words that he wanted to use to help others that were struggling, to assist her in her absolutely ridiculous defense. Ironically, before Travis left my house that day, we got into a crazy discussion about the deaths we've endured at such a young age. We both shared the fear of losing another family member. It made me so sick to my stomach to even imagine going through another death. I told him I probably couldn't handle it, and he said the same. The last time I saw him, I think back about that last conversation we had about death. I think about how horrible and sick I got when we were talking about it. Little did I know, just a couple of weeks later, my entire life would be turned upside down. This is one of the worst possible things I can imagine. The day I found out about Travis's death was the morning of June 10th. I was on a river trip with my boyfriend and best friends in Parker, Arizona. I checked my voicemail because I had bad reception on the water when we were getting ready to take the boat out. The first message was my little sister, Hillary. She sang some funny song, and I was busting up laughing. The next message was my grandmother. My heart sank into my stomach, and I immediately had a burning sensation in my gut. She said, "Samantha, you need to call me. It's very important." I recognized her tone of voice from before when I knew somebody was dead. I called my grandmother's house and Tanisha answered the phone. She screamed. She said, "Samantha, Travis is dead." I could barely breathe out the words, "What happened?" And nobody knew. She said he was found in the bedroom and the police couldn't provide any details. I was on the verge of puking. I couldn't believe my own ears. I remember hoping I'd wake up from a horrible nightmare, but I wasn't sleeping, and the nightmare was real. After several hours of waiting, I found out that Travis had been murdered and that he had been shot and stabbed several times. I was sick. I could barely breathe. I kept thinking, how could this happen? What monster would do this to him? We packed up and left the river immediately. My boyfriend drove me to Mesa because I was too out of my mind to drive myself. I just couldn't wrap my brain around it. I kept thinking, who would do this? Who would do this? Why Travis? and why my family again? It was the worst feeling of my entire life. It was worse than all the other deaths combined. I felt so hopeless. Could not believe that there was someone out there roaming free that committed this heinous crime against my brother. I started calling friends of Travis's, asking questions. Everyone said the same thing. Travis didn't have enemies. The only person they could think of was his stalking ex-girlfriend, Jodi. All fingers pointed to her. I remember who she was because Travis called me asking law enforcement advice. I believe that he said he believed that Jodi slashed his tires twice in 2 different locations. After remembering that, it completely clicked in my head, and I knew in my heart, within a matter of hours of finding out about Travis's death, that Jodi was the one that murdered my brother. We arrived to Mesa late on June 10th. After 3 days of waiting, we got a call that the crime scene was cleared and we were allowed to enter Travis's home. I remember being so sick to my stomach knowing I was about to walk into the place my brother was brutally murdered in. We walked in the front door, everything looked pretty normal. We started to walk up towards Travis's bedroom and I could barely breathe. My poor little sister, Hillary, couldn't even go in the room. I remember the first step I made in his room. Reality set in. I immediately noticed a large piece of carpet missing from the floor. I saw a hole cut into the wall in the hallway leading to his master bathroom. I looked down the hallway, knowing where the shower was, and my heart sank. My stomach started burning. My ears started ringing, and I could barely hear. My mind immediately started to paint a picture of what happened the day that my brother was brutally murdered. I was so sick. I was standing in the same exact place the horrific fight took place. I could imagine the pain, the agony, the screams, and the fright that my brother was going through, what was going through his head when he was losing the fight of his life. I walked down that bathroom hallway where it was obvious the main crime scene occurred, and I looked at the shower where I knew he was found. My eyes filled with tears, and I instantly started picturing my poor brother's dead body in the shower. He was there for 5 days. 5 days. He was there, decomposing in the shower. I'm sure his soul was screaming for someone to find him. It made me so sick to think that I was having the time of my life at the river while my poor brother lay dead in the shower. After regrouping, we started to pack up the house. We packed up for 3 days straight. I remember when it would get dark, we were scared someone was going to come back and try to attack us. We were so scared of our own shadows, but we finally got it done. Travis's friends had a memorial for him before we left town. It was amazing. There were hundreds of people there that loved Travis. So many came up to my sister Hillary and I and gave us huge hugs saying how sorry they were and told us what an amazing brother we had. One person at the memorial stood out like a sore thumb. I recognized her from pictures that Travis had showed me before. It was Jodi. She had that evil smirk on her face that's similar to her booking photo. I remember getting the chills because she was within a few feet of me and I suspected that she did it. It made me feel so helpless. Deep down, I knew that she killed my brother and I couldn't do anything about it. I didn't want to go to jail or hell because of what she did. So I put my faith in the justice system. On July 15, 2008, 36 days after we found out about my brother's death, 42 days after he was murdered, I received a phone call from Detective Flores. He told me that he had arrested Jodi for the murder of my brother. It was the worst weight of our lives, not knowing if anyone was ever going to get arrested for what happened, not knowing if we were next to be attacked, not knowing anything except the horrible injuries my brother sustained and how he must have suffered. I feel so sorry for anyone that has ever walked or will ever walk in those shoes. I had a sense of relief due to the arrest and a sense of